Deltona residents!
Yay! Good evening.
If we can, we have a couple seats up here. If you feel comfortable and want to come up, that's awesome. If not, you're good where you're at. So a couple things. If you have one of these guys right here, if you don't mind, please just put it on silent. That way we don't interrupt the meeting. That would be great. Purpose of these meetings are to listen to you, to questions, concerns, suggestions. I probably do not have an answer for you today. That's not the purpose of these town halls. The purpose is to go back, listen to these meetings, get the questions down, and try to get you an answer with the interim city manager. This meeting has been fully noticed, so it's under the sunshine. We do have three commissioners here. Commissioner Tom Burbank, I always stress this out. Thank you so much. He's come to every single one.
Mayor needs a groupie. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. No, I mean that. And I like the hat. Those are my favorite style of hats. I'll show you a picture one day. Commissioner Caldwell from District 5 is here as well today. And Commissioner Jody Lee's here from his district. This is his district, so thank you guys for being here. I usually go down the line. You can ask your question, your concern again, and then I always leave the commissioners for last. So if you guys have anything you want to say when I'm finished, you're welcome to do it at the end of the meeting. So we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah.
For the record, just hold on. Your name, and then if you can go, there's a little box over there with a microphone. Just go there, say your name because they're taking notes for minutes. Yeah, it's a microphone so people can hear it.
All right.
We don't have great audio right here. So.
No worries. Long way around.
What if we project ourselves?
Well, if you have a loud voice,
Projected
right?
voice.
I got a voice. Okay, so I'm John Rodriguez. I live here locally, but I don't have any current questions right now. So.
Okay.
John Rodriguez. Doesn't work. Yes.
There you go.
John Rodriguez. I don't currently have any questions. First time coming to one of these meetings. I just moved here recently, so just kind of here to listen and see what goes on.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you so much.
I am Carolyn Hickerson. I am very glad to be here and to see you here. And my question, I guess, would be that the flavor of city government will be different. Because when I first moved here 4 or 5 years ago, I went to several city meetings, and it was just a bully session of citizens. And I'm glad that I feel like we'll be heard and that our concerns will be addressed. And my one question is, will you have any influence over the city manager that will help us be able to have him do the job of getting economy into Deltona? That is my number one question, because being I guess they call it a bedroom community. Yes. It's absurd to me that we're so large and that we have no real funding for taxes other than fines, police, which that's a whole other story I want to get into. I'd rather see us have our own police department, and I'd like to know, how your vision is to bring economy here, and what influence you'll have over the city manager to do that job, because that's going to be his job, is to go to Las Vegas and places like that where he can garner and lobby for economy. So that would be my question.
So I think I can answer one of those questions, right? So obviously, all the city commissioners right now, at least from what I've seen, because I'm in the office almost every day, right? They all try to talk to our interim city manager. I personally believe, right, that our interim city manager is actually doing a very good job. We all ran on different platforms for the most part, but I think we're all united in the fact that we're looking at the massive amount of infrastructure that we do need to fix. I think we can all agree that infrastructure is extremely important, because if we don't have the infrastructure, obviously the businesses are not going to come. Also, to your point, Mr. Chisholm did come to the District 5 town hall. And in that town hall, he said it's time that we start knocking on doors and try to bring some more commerce to Deltona. I think where I probably am a little different from those in the past, right? Not picking anybody specific, is I want to concentrate on redevelopment versus development, right? I'll give you a good example. And I always use the same one. So you have the Winn-Dixie Plaza, or the former Winn-Dixie that was on Cortlandt and Doyle. It's been there like 20 years, not used, right? Let's redevelop that area, right? If you're gonna bulldoze something, bulldoze that building because it's not being used. But if you don't have to, then you don't have to. You have Deltona Boulevard, right? In essence, for those people that have been here, like Mr. Commissioner Burbank, who's like the historian of the group, right? That used to somewhat be the downtown of Deltona. There's CRA money that's in there as well. Why don't we try to do something to spruce it up, modernize it, make it look nicer? It'll help bring more businesses. People that want to bring business to Deltona, they're always looking for the nice, shiny things. So I think Mr. Chisholm has the experience to do that. I mean, he's the person that did Daytona 1, essentially, right? I think he has the willpower, the capacity to do it. I talk to him almost on a daily basis. We have a great relationship, right? I don't think it's about influence per se. I think it's being able to work with other people, right? Elections are over. Let's try to come together. Let's try to work as a team. I know I sat down for several hours with interim city manager. I gave him all my vision. I also told them what my priorities were, which was infrastructure. So we're doing a lot of things to work together. Obviously, others on that dais, have to have their input because, they were also duly elected. So I think it'll take some time. Once we all find our footing, you're going to see us work together. For the most part, we have been working, very well together as far as when things have come before us and voting on things. We've been pretty unanimous on that. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
My name is John Braun. My wife and I, we live close by.
Okay.
So we have a concern about the empty property behind our property that's adjacent to Adler Drive. Recently it was rezoned as R1 PUD instead of R1A, which now has a denser, more houses allowed on that same property. That's going to increase traffic, and specifically we're concerned about the amount of traffic and the infrastructure that is necessary for that development. How soon is that going to be coming down Fort Smith so that it can serve that property, and so that we can be prepared for the eventual 500 cars per day flying down our street twice a day? Because right now we have a few that come flying down, they're just cutting through, but as soon as they start developing that property, it's going to be massive, and we need to know what the city's going to be doing, when it's going to be done, how it's going to be done. They're going to put a light up here to control the traffic flow, and then that's going to force more traffic down Adler, all the way down to Monterey. How are they going to handle that? Because it wasn't addressed specifically, it was just mentioned in the meeting for that development. So that is one of our concerns. And if you have something that I missed, if you want to say something about it, because we have that conversation every single day.
So before everyone leaves, I'll give them a business card, just so I know I have specifically your contact information.
Yes.
I can look into the project. Usually these things come before the planning and zoning board. These concerns are brought up there. Luckily we have our commissioner, Jody Lee, who used to be part of that planning and zoning board. But I can go through it, I can look at it, I can talk to our interim city manager and see what other information he can provide. I think you bring up some legitimate concerns, right? Yes. Especially because it's in your area and it's going to directly affect you.
Yeah, it will.
So I will try, on that one I can do my best to get you an answer sooner than waiting for all the videos to be done so I can go back and answer the other questions.
Because it was brought to the Planning and Development Board first.
Okay.
and they denied it. Then it was brought to the council, and they approved it with a majority vote. Even though everyone there objected to that, the density of those houses. It's already purchased, it's already R1A, but then they were allowed PUD, so that got 230 homes?
No, 132 homes.
132?
Instead of 40 to 60, now it's gonna be 132
Yeah,
homes.
132 homes, that's...
And there's a wetland back there, there's protected species back there. They still never physically walked the property. They came out a couple months ago again with their drone, parked at the end of the street, blocked traffic, and set off their little drone again and zoomed around our house and around the area, checking it out. But that's our other concern, is the protected species that are back there. We're not satisfied with their plan for that, especially since they haven't even taken an interest in physically walking the property. They weren't even aware at the time that we met with the commission back in April. They weren't even aware of all the protected species that are back there.
Okay. Well,
It was a surprise to them at the meeting.
And you say it backs up to wetlands, right?
Yes, there's a wetland back there also,
Okay.
yes.
I will try to get you an answer, but at least I'll bring those questions up to interim city manager tomorrow. Okay?
All right. And then as my question, also, I'm Pamela Braun, John's wife, the better half. Anyways, my question is, it was circulated on social media not too long ago relative to one of our city's social media sites that there was a water quality test done for zip code area 32725, and there was an elevated number of PFAs as a result. And those are forever chemicals that are in your water that over time can be very detrimental to everyone's health. Our zip code 32738, how does that impact us? Is there one for our zip code area? Will we be able to get access to that, or is there going to be one done? Because
I will tell you that Deltona, by law, we have to have a water quality report done on a yearly basis. That's provided to the public, it's public knowledge, or it's free to the public. I can try, again, send me an email and I'll see if I can find the most current one, and I'll email you the report.
yeah, I'd like the one relative for our zip code area.
Well, I
I
don't
mean,
know
it's
if they-
concerning to see that they did one for 32725, but,
If it's the one I'm thinking that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
because I saw that one being circulated as well, I believe that was done privately. It wasn't
Okay.
something that the city did. The city usually does a very general one, usually where the water actually comes out from. And there's certain chemicals, so just, all that stuff is actually regulated. So if there is something that's a little bit higher than normal, then of course, we'll get flagged. So, and then in the back of your water bills, you can also read if there's any potential health hazards. And then the city does put out boil water notices if there's a situation. But for peace of mind, I will try to get you the most up-to-date
thank you.
water quality report that is, it's available, but I'll show you like the links where you can find them for future, but I'll provide you the PDF file. Mr. Burbank, Commissioner Burbank, you wanted to say
Mr.
something?
Mayor, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but...
No, you're good.
These people have a genuine concern, and I am intimate with the property you're describing. It's been called Lake Sydney Estates for over 20 years. At current, there is no active application for development on that property. What's been holding it up all this time is sewer.
Right.
It costs so much to hook it to sewer that it hasn't reached a price point where they can sell lots. And a few years back, they put up a proposal to build their own sewer plant, a small package plant on the property. The city commission said no, and they actually put a moratorium on those packaged sewer plants. So at present, you got nothing to worry about.
Okay.
So you're talking about a pumping station on property?
Yeah, but if they would have their own treatment plant,
Oh.
where they would not go off-site, the city commission said no. So at present, there's nothing active on that property.
And the last time it came to planning and zoning, if anybody watches me on planning and zoning, any major development in planning and zoning, since I've been on for 3.5 years on planning and zoning, I usually knock it down. We need to take care of the people that live in the city now and not the ones that might come here, so.
I've been attending the meetings, and I did attend the planning and zoning meeting as well as the commission meeting. So this
I've
past
been
year,
big major
in
projects.
April and May, and
I'm
yeah.
not- Yes,
So thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
I'm glad I could help. And it's my neighborhood, so.
Again,
Thank you. If we can get them an answer sooner, that's great. So I appreciate that, Commissioners. Yeah. We'll start with you and then
Stephanie Conway, and I don't have too much to add from yesterday, but in continuing on the topic of infrastructure, like, we have so many accidents in Deltona, usually in specific areas. Like, it just seems to happen all the time in certain areas. And I know that, yeah, we have a lot of very selfish people in Deltona. If anyone's part of the gossip and complaints page, you'll see it. Very selfish people. And we do have people who drive recklessly, we do have people who speed, you know, and that is on them. However, with needing to continue to expand infrastructure and reinforce and all of that with the development projects that are out there, I would be interested in knowing if there's a way where they can really determine whether or not some of these areas have unintentional conflict designed into the infrastructure because of just how things were built at different times and everything's connecting.
That's actually a pretty good question. I was doing something for the Cub Scouts, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And as I was coming out onto Normandy, there is the property that connects to that road is extremely elevated, at least by 5 feet. So it's really hard to make a right turn going towards Elkham, because it comes in a curve. So it's where that American Lodge, the American Legion is, right there. So you can't really see, and I waited for a little bit to see headlights because it was night. And even when I went, I literally had to step on the gas because the car was coming extremely fast, and the car had to change lanes. So what I did, to your point, was I wrote down the intersections and I sent that to our city manager, just because, like you said, it depends on the time when things are constructed. They usually do studies, traffic studies, flood studies. They do a bunch of different things.
And then something changed.
Exactly. Now that could have been something that was done in the past that they didn't do that. So I wrote that down and I put that as a point of concern. If anyone here runs into a situation like that, write down the intersection, send them to me, and I'll send them to our interim city manager to look at. But that's a great point, and sometimes we miss that, especially because that specific road is not on a main road. So.
I'm Connie Conway. This is actually not my district, I'm District 5, but I've attended some of the meetings because I just wanted to hear some of the issues that, you know, are obviously there, but maybe I didn't know. I've been in Deltona for a minute or so. I remember when Saxon was a 2-lane road. There was no access to I-4 from Saxon. It's been a while. That's the first time I came to Deltona. But you know, there's a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of changes, and some of them are good, and some of them not so good. You know, a lot of things you've already addressed about infrastructure. You know, there's more people coming. We're, you know, everybody got a car, like 4 cars to a house, and they all got to go somewhere. All of these buildings going up, these apartment buildings going up. We don't. The roads can't handle that. I don't think it was planned. You know, and I really appreciate, you know, you stepping forward and you know, taking charge. And I like the idea of using some of these empty structures that are sitting there rotting instead of clearing something else. You know, right? And you know, we're losing the sponge. You know, and then people that never flooded now flooded, and this is probably not going to be the last time. You know. So
I look at Deltona, right, and I lived in a very big city before I moved to Deltona. I moved to Deltona because I wanted a nice place to raise my family. So the last thing I want is to create Deltona Orlando. Okay, that's not what I want. But I also know that we need things as a city that's growing. We need, you know, we need like an entertainment centers. I think it's a better word than a downtown, right? I mentioned this before. Winter Park has these, it's like 2 or 3 blocks. It's like a square, literally. Some nice restaurants, mom and pop stuff, which they help each other. Mom and pops and big box restaurants help each other out. and they have a big theater there, and it's just their little mini downtown, essentially their entertainment center. I think if we can have maybe 2 or 3 of those in the city, because we are a pretty big city, I think that would suffice, right? We don't need to destroy more. I've been living here for 13 years, going on 14. And just the last 2 years, I've gone on social media and I've seen people, oh look, now I have bears in my yard. Coyotes have been going rampant for a while, right? So, and then we have a lot of flooding. So I think we all in that dice hear that, and we're all sensitive to it. I think one of the things that makes Deltona such an amazing place is its trails, right? We have so many trails that interconnect. I personally, it might not look like it, but I actually do walk our trails, right? I love our trails. Unfortunately, we don't have Lakeshore because it's whatever happened, there happened. We could point fingers and blame half of the people, but we need to figure out how to fix it. But we had that. That was a beautiful place to go. I used to go there with my wife, right? I enjoyed that. And we want to conserve that, right? And be mindful of those things. So I think there's a place to do it. That's why I keep talking about redevelopment. So there is no question that, okay, we don't want to see our city grow. No, we do, but let's do it responsibly, right? Let's look at the school situation is something that I always keep bringing up, okay? Legally, under the state statutes, right, schools are not to capacity. The problem that we're having is we don't have enough teachers, right? To a certain extent, we want the schools to reach their capacity because we want to utilize as much as we can, keep our classrooms small, but when you have a 40% deficit of teachers, that's what's making our classrooms so big. And, you know, is it that we're not paying them enough? I don't know the answer to that. But we definitely have an issue. So we have to be careful because the more residential that goes in at points, right, it's going to make that a lot more complicated. There's times, I believe, that residential property makes sense. I'm just going to tell you, we just voted on this. Catalina Point, in my opinion, was one of those that made sense, right? That property is very oddly shaped. If you would have put commercial in there, the back of I'll just use Publix, right? The back of a Publix would have butted up to the properties of the people that live there. You know, a lot of lights, there would be no buffers, right? And then I was reading some of the traffic studies. There would have been 16 times more traffic with a commercial there than with residential, right? I believe that there's still some work that needs to be done. I love the fact that they thought about the 3 retention ponds. I love that they put an internal trail. Those are all great things. Conserve trees. You go to Fernando Place, for example. I walked that place 2.5 times. It is the hottest area in Deltona to walk. There's really no trees. No trees at all, right? There's like 1 or maybe 2. So we need to conserve as much as we can of Deltona. Let's redevelop the areas that need it, but let's try to leave some of our green spaces alone. So, thank you. Pam?
Yes. My name is Sherry Getcho, and I've lived in Deltona for 10 years, and prior to that, I lived in Osteen, just off 415 for 9 years. I've been up here a while. My concern is I'm kind of late coming to the whole attending the meetings, and, you know, it just was kind of discouraging, a little intimidating, and, you know what I mean. At any rate, on Doyle Road in Cortland, we've got, what, 550 homes. And then further heading east on Doyle, back there after Pell's Nursery before the Handyway, there's another 500. And we've got 189 going in over on Enterprise Osteen Road. Well, where are all these children going to go to school? Because it's Osteen Elementary, Heritage Middle, and Pine Ridge is what they would be zoned for today. Are we rezoning everything, or that's a lot of people, a lot of kids, a lot of traffic, you know, everything. But the kids, my kids went to Osteen, my granddaughter's there, and they rebuilt that whole school 10 years ago. How is that going to be adequate? Any of them?
I can't speak for what's happened in the past, right? Anything moving forward, and even some of the stuff that's been approved in the past, I'm the mayor, I'll take full responsibility moving forward. I'm not gonna.
But is there a plan? I mean, or what was the plan?
I'll just let you know, one of my questions to our interim city manager was, should we look at our comp plans and probably redo them or re-examine them? I believe in property rights, okay? I believe if you own a property, do what you want, but there's a reason why certain areas are zoned a certain way, right? So if, for example, you want to build residential homes, you should not buy a plot that's zoned for agriculture, for example. Thinking that you're gonna go back and it's gonna like be forced to become residential. It shouldn't be that way. I don't think that way. I think if you buy a plot that's ag or commercial, it should stay the way it's zoned. You know, like if I've seen some development, not saying here in Deltona, but they built all over wetlands. I mean, a perfect example, Stone Island is literally wetlands, and they build on that. And they're always flooding, always.
Right.
So those are the consequences when you really don't follow zoning rules. I've asked, and I'll ask again to your point, what are we gonna do moving forward? Do we have a plan in place to provide some relief?
Because half of the one on Doyle and Portland is, they're occupying.
Yeah, I know.
And that whole, all the way down, it's all flooded on the south side. To the driveway of Osteen Elementary, I drove there every day for 100 years. And
They've had water there for weeks.
the kids can't even walk down the sidewalk. I don't know if they're on the roads. I go to work a little later than when kids are walking, but they're still walking. Are they on the shoulder of the road? Where are they? But I mean, again, just population-wise, what are we gonna do?
I will.
We're gonna have portables everywhere again, and
Yeah. I will, again, we don't have an issue with capacity in schools. We have an issue with the lack of teachers.
well, we're
That's
gonna
a problem.
have an issue. I mean, if you
We're
think.
gonna have an
There's
issue.
Well, at some point, yes.
I mean, we had kids acting out because,
There is an issue with
you
capacity.
know, there was a huge issue. I mean,
Now, they just popped some more portables up, you know, that's,
Right.
you know. I mean, when she went to Deltona High, they had 99 portables.
Wow.
Okay, they had over 3,000 kids.
Oh, yeah, they turned the
There's
entire
no
summer
restroom,
school
there's,
into
you know, all
portables.
these, they just pop portables up, you know, capacity up.
But they need teachers to teach in the portable.
and
Well,
the
that
kids are
too, but,
stressed.
you know,
Heritage Elementary has the sheriff's department there almost every day because of fights.
At
The kids are
Heritage Elementary.
stressed.
middle school.
Middle school.
It's not, it's
Middle
all
school.
of them, it's all of them,
The
it's not
kids are
just.
stressed, and the
It's too many.
the police are there all the time. My grandson went to that school, I moved him back to Tennessee. I said, I can't even have you going to school here, it's too dangerous.
It's not good. I'll bring up that concern as well. We need to look at our comp plan. But Commissioner Jody Lee would like to say something.
Yeah, a lot of the zoning was changed prior to this new commission being in.
Right.
So sorry about whatever happened in the past. It's a whole new commission, and I believe there's gonna be a whole different future for the city. When it comes to the schools, the school board puts out a letter to all these developers saying, yes, we have the capacity. But they're not. They're not, but you're right, the problem is when the school board puts out these things, it's not the elected officials, it's people that work for the school board. They put out a letter saying, yes, we can handle it. The problem is, that's including busing them to different schools, transporting to different schools. That's not all right there. They said they had the capacity, but they're taking a range over several schools so they can move them to different spots. We had Ruben Cologne, which is one of the elected member of the school board. He came to our meeting, and I asked him right at planning and zoning, if we approve these, is it gonna hurt the kids' education? His first answer was absolutely. See, you get more people with honest and not just a school board that has no idea, has been to the schools.
Right.
This new building that they tried doing in Fernando Place was gonna put Pine Ridge somewhere around 130%. You're right, like the mayor says, we have a lack of teachers. But we still don't need to keep putting extra kids in school when they're already at 98, 99%. It's gonna hurt our kids' future. Sooner or later, we're all gonna be gone, and them kids gonna take our place. So we have to work on their education. So we're trying to work now, it's a different commission, so I believe all this massive building is gonna be maybe sidelined for a while until we can fix our own problems first.
Excellent.
Thank you, Commissioner.
It's okay. I apologize ahead of time.
All right, well, my name is Bill Ostoic, and I'm a property manager. I cover 11 different counties, and I've seen cities go from nothing to exploding, especially out in like Winter Garden and stuff like that. And so I understand what you guys are looking to do. But one of the things that I noticed in the successful areas that have grown is getting the commercial aspect first. Because you got all these people coming in, there's no jobs for them. The other thing I'd like to bring up is if you want to go out and get something to eat, you're leaving Deltona.
Yes.
All right, we would like to see a Chick-fil-A right next to the McDonald's right there at the Walmart. So anything you can do to make that happen, that's a no. Bringing up somebody's concern about the water, I understand the reports and everything else. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I put a brand new higher end Moen faucet in. Within 2 years, the metal is corroded. I will not drink city water. The other thing is the city sewer. Another thing that I really don't agree with is making people go from septic to city sewer. You had brought up Stone Island. The lift stations, once they get flooded, they don't work, sewage doesn't flow.
Yeah.
It all backs up into houses. So there's a whole lot to take into consideration. Another thing with all the people coming in, the kids, and like you were saying, what are they gonna do? Because an idle kid is trouble.
It is, and it's not their fault, right? And I don't mean to cut you off, but it's not. So I'm a new dad. My little girl's 11 months. Actually, today she's 11 months. And I think when she gets a little bit older, right, when I have to go see some of my clients for work, for my real job, right, I have to go 30, 40 minutes at a time out, whether it's to Daytona or to Orlando, wherever. So when I get back home, the last thing I want to hear is say, hey, Daddy, can you take me to the mall? Because again, that's either way, it's like 30 minutes, Sanford or the Daytona Beach Mall. And then I have to wait, and then I have to go back and pick her up. So you're right, I get it.
And now, here's another thing. If you look at have you been to the Sanford Mall lately?
Yeah.
It's a ghost town.
It's dying, yeah.
Okay, you also have to take into consideration the markets.
Yes.
And with the downturn in the economy, which if you were to tell me 5 years ago that the real estate market would have taken such a downturn as it has right now, nobody would have believed you. But the prices are relatively low, so there is a bigger ability for people to afford housing. But once again, we have, if I'm not mistaken, the largest residential area in Volusia County.
Second largest in Central.
Okay, so on the property bill, the #1 highest amount of tax is for education. I have said for years the education needs to be audited because that's a whole lot of money going in for schools that are broke. And so, and I can't tell you what's going on with that, but we don't have very many commercial property here. So all that residential tax dollars going in, and for teachers to have to pay for their own stuff or do drives and stuff like that, something's going on that just doesn't make any sense. So.
Thank you.
I'm Audrey Story, Bill's wife. He did pretty good. Normally he has me, what you gonna say? We've been here for 21 years. We've raised our children. We have grandkids here now. And so, like you, I have not come to these meetings. I'll be honest with you. In school, I passed history and civic with a D just to get out of high school. So, you know, some of the verbiage and everything that is used, it can be intimidating for somebody like me that is not, political is not my thing, but understanding that, hey, if this happens, this is how it can affect you. And putting it in, you know, kid terms is basically, so in reading, I'm in all the groups, I'm kind of like a stalker, I'm watching, I'm following everybody. I've done like internet marketing, I've been online since '99, so, but I just follow the things, and it's the first time I told my husband, I'm like, I don't know why I want to do this, but I used to be involved with YEC, Nick, PISA, all the youth. I've done mentoring with the children and everything, so my concern has been like the schooling. I have a son-in-law that's a police officer now that is actually changing over to become a teacher at Pine Ridge. A huge change, so I'm hoping he can get them before they go out, you know, on the streets. And I've got a daughter who wants to become a teacher. But it's
Thank you for that.
it's scary though, because of the things that teachers have to. I wouldn't want to be a teacher, and I'm a natural born teacher. Like I homeschooled my kids, plus they went to school here. But I don't know with the teachers. I mean, they've got a lot on their plates. Why don't we have the teachers? What is it that is holding them back? And is it because their hands are tied and they're not allowed to do anything to the students and they get walked all over? You know what? That's so.
I can write you a book on that.
The teacher issue
It's the
is a county thing, though. It's
Yeah.
not even a
So-
local thing.
so
You know?
let me-
No, it's not. It's a national thing, and that's what I tell my daughter. You know, I mean, she's
So
got.
let me just say this, right? One of the things why, so a lot of lately it seems like a lot of the schools or kid organizations have reached out to me to go talk to them or have conversations with them. One of the reasons I try to never say no to them is because, just to be a little personal, right? I'm a product of public schools, right? I never went to a private school. It's a little sad why I went to public school, right? I personally used to go to public school. That's where I got my breakfast and that's where I got my lunch, right? We were extremely poverty. And I tell all the students when I get to talk to them, I tell them, you know, you go to school and do what you can to learn and to listen. And granted, when I went to school and now, I mean, if I said something obnoxious to my teacher, they'd probably smack me silly. And my parents would have, like, I said something to them and they would have probably smacked me again, right? Now things are extremely different, right? But that's something that we do need a lot more. Same with the city, we do need more of the parents to get more involved and more community in that aspect as well. Ruben Colon is, I'll tell you right now, every single time I've reached out to him and I have had great conversations. He's not difficult to work with. He's very comprehensive. He absolutely loves our kids. I've never seen him do anything, you know, nefarious to like ignore parents. But some of these concerns that some of you residents have brought up about the schools, he needs to hear that. And the good thing about Ruben is he'll try his best to do something about it, right? Just like he serves on a board, so it's more to it than that. But he needs to hear that. He needs and maybe he can provide a better answer than what I can, right? Because all I'm gonna do for those school questions is I'm actually gonna call Ruben and say, hey Ruben, these are some of the questions that some of the residents have, and he'll tell me, he'll be like, well, it could be that the teachers don't make enough money. It could be that the teachers are very restricted. I mean, I've seen online, and I've tried my best to kind of not get into all the social media stuff, but it's really hard when you're a high school teacher and you have a student come up to your face and maybe they don't notice, but they're spitting, and it's like, what, you can't even touch them, right? Unless they do something, and even if they do something, how do you defend yourself, right? The perception, you're hitting a student now, so these are tough situations. Unfortunately, we're in times that they're very different from when I was raised. But bring those up to our county school board member.
Well, and I think that you'd get, I don't know, I mean, when I was raising my kids, being at a meeting like this was not kind of like first thing on my mind. I'm doing football practice, cheer practice, and everything else. But it is intimidating. It is very, very intimidating to a lot of people when, like, even if you were to ask what would be considered a stupid question by those who are in politics, like, what do you say, the DS? The
dais.
Dais. I have to look that up. What the heck
Don't
is
feel
a
bad. I did
dais?
too. Don't feel bad.
Can we just say what a dais is and just be, you know? So it's just things like that I just sit there. Literally, I watch the commission meeting online on my little iPad with my phone, and you guys are talking about stuff. I'm like, Google. What does this mean? Pause. Okay. All right. Let me go. I mean, I'm not.
But you know what?
By any, you know.
But you know what? You're watching.
Yes.
You're trying to be involved. So I personally am thanking you for doing that, because I learned a long time ago. One of my public school teachers told me it's better to be stupid for a second than to stay stupid forever, right? That's when they used to be able to tell us things like that without
Yeah,
getting
saying that
fined.
today.
So thank you for doing that. I mean, I didn't know what a dais was either. You know, I thought
You
that
might
was
want to
just-
explain it to the people.
You
Yeah.
might want to say it now, because I don't
Here
know.
to say thanks.
Well, it's where you sit, it's where the elected officials sit, you know? It's a fancy
Like the
name that
stage
they
area, I
use.
guess.
Yeah.
Look over there, that would be your dais.
There you go.
And everyone else would be on the
To me, it's a stage.
But if this is where they sit,
You know
that's a
what?
raised platform.
At times, it isn't actually even a stage. I'll leave it to Carol.
Make it emotional, so, okay.
It'd be a soapbox.
Until Nora Vito, one of my major concerns is the moratorium. I want that to happen, I want it to happen soon, and I definitely want the citizen input. I will not want staff making those decisions. That's gonna have effect on almost every problem that's been raised here tonight, is when we make our plans of what we want the city to be and how we want it to be. And another thing, just for curiosity, I'm a TV watcher too. I watch all meetings on TV, and I have problems with the video and audio coming through. Sometimes it's cut off, and we can't hear what the person's saying. Sometimes it's an important point, and I'm really miss not hearing it. So I'm just letting you know there's a problem coming through with the audio and visual material sometimes through the TV and the computer.
I will try to get you an answer on that from our tech
This has
team.
happened several times.
I know,
Over months.
And I saw a couple of people messaged me on specifically that. I will try to get you an answer on that specific part. The first part of the moratorium, I can tell you, the last commission meeting, we did ask, we asked to make sure that the moratorium situation, we start rolling on it because
Okay, but
March
the
is right around the
citizens,
corner.
okay, they keep saying, they put paradises, no offense, he goes on and on and on. He keeps saying, if we're going to have public scoping, come on, when? When? And if it doesn't happen with public scoping, it is not fair.
Sure.
It's absolutely unfair.
Sure. You're
I'm
right.
tired of staff making all the decisions.
Sure. I will try to get you an answer on the public scoping part of it.
Thank you.
So, so keep in mind, it's government, right? It's very unfortunate, but government works very slow.
Okay,
And I know it's not what we want.
I respect what you're telling me, but the name of the game, staff has been making all the decisions all along. And they keep saying the public is having their input, and the public has not had their input. They have controlled the situation. We want to have part of it. We live here, we live in the city. Many of them are not living in the city.
So for the gentleman just came in, so the purpose of this town hall, right, is to ask questions, concerns, and any suggestions that you might have. I'm kind of going down the road, so I'll finish with them and then I'll come back to you. So.
My name's John. I've been in District 6 for 37 years. I go to every meeting the last 3.5 years because I've been fighting the city on their zoning attitude. I talk to Mr. Paradise all the time and the staff, and I've got a considerable number of hours, thousands I would say, in studying law. I know more about what goes on here than anybody, except maybe a couple people here, and hopefully yourself soon. They're trying to build 40 to 60 houses right next to my 5 acres that I've been on for 37 years, and where everybody else has 2.5 to 10. It's a ridiculous scenario, so that's why I got involved. The other reason I got involved was several years ago, my commissioner at the time told me that citizens have no rights. If you don't like it here, you can move. And all these deals with the developers are done deals, and that's what lit my fire. So I kind of do have a solution for everything. And this is something I got up in front of the commission and the P&Z back in 2012. And I came to them because I'm a consultant for a number of companies. I'm in the welding business. I hate that word, but that's kind of what I am. I had 2 companies locally in Sanford and Maitland with 125 and 165 employees. These are good paying jobs. We're manufacturing. We're doing laser work, punches, brakes, machining, lots of welding, engineers, there's a little bit of labor involved in that, but these are all high-paying jobs. And 85% of these people live in Deltona that were traveling to those jobs. So my point is, until you get some, industry in this town for jobs, none of this is going to happen. Schools aren't going to get better. There's not going to be restaurants here because there's no daytime work.
Right.
And all these, and sprawl used to be a cool term to me. That's what I would do when I jump in my bed when I get home from work. But sprawl is a horrible legal term, and it's the term that's happened to this city. There's a zillion cars everywhere. It lowers your property values, quality of life, and then the list goes on. So I got up in front of them and I said, I've got two companies. They're both paying $22,500 a month rent on these buildings, and they're both very happy. And these are hundreds of employees. And I kind of got laughed out of the room by the P&Z and the commission at the time. So, until you build some jobs here, take that Winn-Dixie Plaza and make it, I'm going to say one more thing before I get off track. The best thing I've seen happen in this city in 12 years that I've been paying heavy attention is that Daytona Beach Community College is building a machining department over here. Now that will support industry. And that means jobs, and that means everybody doesn't have to drive to some other city to make this place, livable. So these PUDs, planned unit developments, these are garbage. There's millions and millions of dollars being made on that, but it's by people who don't live here. Decisions made by the staff that don't live here. None of that money stays here. It's just a pyramid scam joke. So that's all I got.
If you look at the city, you should live here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Trumet, I live in this district. First, a recommendation is Fort Smith and Newmark. I just think that's kind of, every time I drive there, I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands, especially in a busy time, because the cars come over that hill a little bit, they're out there coming this way. So if you could look at that in terms of maybe doing something to control the traffic a little bit better there, or make it easier to get off of Newmark onto Fort Smith. So that's number one. One of the first questions I have is, the city doesn't control the schools. The county does. It seems to me that every meeting that I go to, when they talk about development, they talk about the lack of teachers. So what exactly can the city do to impact the decisions of the school board in order to affect that? I'm an ex-teacher, going back a long time ago. There's got to be some way. Why would somebody come to Volusia County versus going to Seminole or some other place? It seems to me that they have to have some kind of incentive. And it may cost a little bit more money, but if you want to attract people to something, just like we talk about commerce, you want to attract some commerce here, well, you know what? You got to incentivize people. So that's number one. What can you do as the city commission and the city manager to impact the school board in getting that problem solved? Because no matter if we add another 100 students or keep it as it is, we're not meeting the needs of the students, even though our high schools are graduating more students than they ever have, and they are doing a good job right now. But how do you fix that? What's your?
So thank you for that specific question. So I know I spoke to Ruben Colon this past week, and I presented to our interim city manager. He wants to have a combined meeting with him as our school board rep and have public participation along with the commission. I believe he told me that it was done a couple of years ago, I believe 6 years ago or something of that nature. I don't recall that meeting specifically, but I think that's a good place to start, right? How can we incentivize some of these teachers who come to Deltona? Look, I've looked at how some cities work with people that are trying to bring development into their cities, and I'm going to give you an example. There's a city in Virginia, and that one of our residents does some designs and stuff for them, and he got permission to be able to share it. And part of what they request is, for example, and I think I've mentioned this before, they've asked for $5,000 to maintain a specific park, one-time charge, to clean it up, whatever, spruce it up. They've asked for a certain amount of money for a school fund, right? So they can help the county school board incentivize to be like, let's say the teacher gets paid $30,000 a year, they can tackle on another $5,000 from that fund to help those teachers get a higher wage. There's a lot of things that we can do, right? Again, that's in Virginia. I don't know the legalities here in Florida because every state is different. But the short answer to that is we're working with Ruben Colon to see if we can do a combined meeting to see how we can solve some of those issues. Because you're right, it's a county issue.
Well, one other point about that
Sure.
is that we talk here, but my understanding is not a whole lot of people show up at the county school board meeting unless there's a hot mask issue or something. But other than that, there's not people there. If we want to impact, if Deltona wants to impact what's happening in the schools, then our people here who have kids in school should go there. I would be curious to see what the teacher-student ratios are, or the lack of teachers around the county. Because my understanding is that Ruben had to climb over a lot of stuff to get that new school building built on Enterprise, or Deltona Enterprise. And the reality is, I think for a long time, Deltona has been shortchanged by the county and by, obviously, then the county, the school board. And I think it's time that the people of Deltona say, hey, no more. So, I mean, if we want to impact that, you got to go there and you got to demand more services. But I'd be curious to see if the same problem occurs here, occurs in DeLand. And it obviously doesn't, because they're building like crazy in DeLand and building all kinds of communities, and it doesn't seem to affect them. So is it our problem? Second, one other last point is, 2 weeks ago, when you took over as mayor, you had a contentious meeting. And for whatever reason, it boiled over into the parking lot. Some people said it was my fault. I don't think it was, but some people said that. Same person that was involved this last Monday got in the same argument with one of our commissioners. Made my problem look pretty small compared to what happened then. Now that commissioner seems to be allied with you that got in that argument. What are you going to do to start controlling the city commission meetings so that this stuff doesn't happen? Because the first thing I read was you wanted to take the metal detectors out. Well, guess what? The metal detectors are there. Because I know people who are scared to come to the meeting because of those people. So what are you going to do to take control?
So there's already things that I've sat down and I've put in place with our interim city manager, right? Again, I'm only one person. I'm still trying to learn my footing. That is the honest truth. You know, I haven't. I'm still trying to learn how to run our meetings, right? I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty stuff of others on the commission, because I think it fails to help bring unity. Hold on, Mr. Permetta. Regardless of political affiliations, I want to work with every single person up there, okay? I think I've demonstrated that I can play ball, because I've not seen a single vote up there, with the exception of who is going to be the vice mayor, that we have not all voted together on. And the reason why on that specific vote, before everybody started going on social media and saying things that wasn't correct, she had already been the vice mayor before, right? That was my only one observation, and I thought that that's supposed to kind of be like one of those rotating things that everybody gets an opportunity. But I don't disagree with you. I think that we do need to bring decorum to our meetings, right? I'm not saying that we don't, right? I'm very easy to work with. You know, I have friends that are Republican, I have friends that are Democrat, regardless of how we affiliate each other. I'm gonna tell you this right now, I am so sick and tired of the election was November, and we are now in December going into Christmas, and I still feel like I have to be campaigning with some of my fellow Dias members. It should not feel that way. I should not have to be trying to run a meeting, and I should not have to be hearing hissing and fussing from anyone, right? And I've apologized to my residents. I've told my residents I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn how to manage these meetings. I understand that there are some people that like the ruckus. I am trying to help bring that down. I think Mr. Everson wrote a perfect piece, right? He said for many years, a lot of our residents haven't been really heard, right? And after a while, people get tired and they get frustrated. Some people might use it as a sport. I don't believe we need to be using it as a sport, right? Because you're not going to go into a courthouse and tell the judge to go fly a kite, because I'm sure you'll get held in contempt. But all I'm asking is, give me a couple of meetings. I'm going to bring things into control, but give me a couple of meetings. Right? I'll give you a perfect example. While everyone up here was talking, right? Mr. Burbank, yourself, Jody, you guys have respectfully been talking and whispering. It doesn't bother me. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I've seen others do the same thing way in the back or up front. I don't say anything because as long as I can't hear you and it doesn't interrupt the meeting, I shouldn't have to be saying point of order, because then what good? How does that move us forward? Now, from the dais, we're disrupting the meeting. I tell you, and I've told everyone up there when we're able to talk, when somebody gets out of line from back there and we're trying to run the meeting, I think I've demonstrated that, I say, hey guys, we're trying to run a meeting. Don't disrupt the meeting. This is city business. It's your business. This is a resident's business. All I'm asking is give me an opportunity to get my footing. That's all I'm asking. Between now and the next election, if you guys really don't like the job I'm doing, vote me out, right? And I get it. I'm just asking for some patience. That's all I'm asking for.
And all I'm asking you is to use the gavel. That's all.
Let me get her, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Commissioner. Yeah.
Well, I really didn't plan, I was not gonna say anything, but, as a mayor and what you're laying as a foundation is kind of like for going forward. It's not necessarily the jobs that you're doing now. So going forward for Deltona, when I look at my property taxes, I see the biggest chunks are Volusia County, schools, and Deltona. And I'm like, is Volusia double dipping? Because the schools are in Volusia and Deltona's in Volusia. Okay, and like Dana said the other meeting ago, a couple meetings ago, out of 100,000 some people in Deltona, only 50 some percent are the ones that are paying, yeah. So maybe we need to talk to the county or the state, and the people that are employed can maybe pay a city tax. Sorry, but it's getting to that point where I don't think that the people that are the ones that own the houses should have to pay all the taxes for everybody.
You drive a good point. It's a legitimate point. Here's the issue. The reason for about 50% of the people paying that tax bill is because a lot of the residents fall into a bracket where they can get a homestead exemption.
Whichever. I'm saying going forward, let's take a look at putting some city taxes on the people, because everybody, this has always been a bedroom community. I'm sorry, but this is the way it is all over the country. You have to drive 30, 40 minutes. I know people that drive 3 hours to get to work, and they do whatever how they work. My first husband, he went out on Monday and he came back on Friday, because he went down to Hollywood or Miami and worked water well drilling. Okay, so I mean, that's the people that live around here. That's what they do. They're hard workers. They go out, they come back. All right, so that's just the way it is. So we're not ever going to have, 3 little plazas in Deltona with 6 little restaurants and an entertainment center. It's just not going to work out with the way our Deltona's made. And the aquifers underneath can't handle no sewer going under there. We have to be mindful of that. I'm sorry, we just, at some point, can't just keep growing. And like he said, having some manufacturing jobs instead of Amazon, they should have put in stuff like what he's saying.
Commissioner, and then I'll let you. Commissioner, you want to say something?
Yeah, one thing, everybody wants to change the city. I do too. I mean, I've been here for years, my kids are here, my grandkids are here. When you're talking to the mayor, I'd like to see it downtown, I want to work with him for some kind of downtown area. Whatever it is, I'm all for it. If we can do it feasibly and get the businesses to pay for it, so we're not paying for it. The other thing is, people want us to talk about the mayor, nothing that happens in the city is his fault, even going forward. He could say it's gonna be my fault as mayor. He's one person, I'm one person, I can want something, if they don't vote with me, I don't get what I want. If the dais don't vote with him, he don't get what he wants. The only way we can get anything done is we all work together. If it's not at least 4 or more votes on that dais, whoever wants something isn't getting it. I can ask for a bunch of stuff. Nobody on our dais has more power than the next person. We all have to work together to get what we want, and we all have to see the same outcome that's going to be better for the people that live here. I mean, this is my district. I'm the commissioner for District 6. I don't want more houses in every piece of land that's around here. I don't want no more dollar stores in every piece of land around here. I'm over it. I don't want another McDonald's. I don't want a Taco Bell.
Thank you.
I don't want none of it. If we can't get a restaurant, I've had my comments with our planning development. I want a decent restaurant. Of course, I don't see that happening anytime future, but we can't make them come here. We can make it all these deals and have them come here. We can't force them to come here. If they don't see the lunchtime crowd or the dinner crowd, breakfast crowd, they're not gonna come. So we're trying, we're doing the best we can, but all of us have to work together to do anything in the city. It's not him. If something happens, it's not his fault. If something that happens, it's not his fault, I mean, there's 3 of us right here in the dais. There's the 4th up there. We have to have 4 or more votes to do anything. So if we get squashed by 5 commissioners, we're not getting it done. So we all have to work together on getting this stuff done. That's the only way we're gonna do it.
Thank you, Commissioner Joe. Sir?
I didn't plan, I came personally just to see who the mayor is because I voted for him, but I never really, so I was impressed that you're actually meeting each district separately and actually want to know people instead of just come to the meeting. And because I used to live in South Florida, and I used to go to the city meetings, and if there were 10 people, it was the same size city as Deltona, if there was 10 people, it was something urgent that those 10 people want to do, and then you sit there, you see all those empty benches sitting there and nobody there. It's like every week, every 2 weeks, nobody there. So that's why I was surprised that this meeting, I mean, I live here only 6-7 years. The only thing I'm surprised that people live there longer, for instance, in the street next to me, said, I mean, I know I'm paying this property tax, everybody does, but you think if we, nobody thinks it's crazy that you say, how about we have 2 street lights? So, are you insane? Will you live here and just live in the dark? And I said, I live here a long time in Florida, and street light wasn't such a big thing, but where'd you turn another 20, 30 years? I said, okay. But I'm saying, if a street light is such a, you need to go to the city and apply, but that was just a little thing that I was like, what about paving the road? Oh, doesn't even come to that thing. So anyway, my point was, see this crowd, I was like, wow, this is only my district. So I don't think the last mayor ever saw this amount of people in one meeting. So I'm impressed that you getting something that the last, I don't know how many mayors could never. So I'm impressed in that. And besides, I wanted to see really who lives in my district, if even somebody's going to show up. I was surprised that, if it were 3 or 4 people said, oh yeah, that place is on. But anyway, that was just first meeting. I'll come to the city meeting, I guess, and now I know who my representative is. I knew Sosa before, and I liked him. I came with him, and I said to him one time, you have those pickleball courts, and nobody knows about it. Why don't you? So I invited him to go play with me, and he was impressed. He said, I didn't know that. I didn't know how to play this game. And I said, go and look at, what's it, Holly Hill. They made it like an international, Pictona or something. And it's like, wow. So you don't need a restaurant if the city of Holy Hill can invest and plus investment and make it international location, this little location is so small that can bring this. So you have this thing, put a little roof on it, make a little bit exciting out of this little park, and you know, try to tell people about this sport. So just those little things that I liked it, I advised it, and I said, you know, I'll stay here meanwhile and try to see what we can do a little bit, like the representative said, yeah, bring a restaurant. I mean, the corner there of Winn-Dixie that's sitting there empty already for years, and I can't believe it. Now, because of the new community, the builder, how come nobody came and said, you know what, this property, finally it's a good location.
All those homes right there, they need a rep, they're gonna need.
I know, I mean, it's there, so it's not like we need to do. And the funny thing is, I'm looking at it, the dollar store was willing to build a whole new store, but not taking that location, which was already ready to go and move in, and that doesn't make any sense. I know, but I'm saying that they don't want to, nobody wants to touch it for years. They would come there and see why can we.
I've actually asked a question as to why, so I'm waiting for an answer on that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just so you know, Jody, because I don't know if, I'm sure you noticed it, but we are getting another Taco Bell and a McDonald's.
Oh, are you kidding
No, we're
me?
not.
On Saxon, there is a Taco Bell that's already planned for there on Saxon. And where the Bank of America was on Normandy and Providence, that's getting a McDonald's.
How about a Buc-ee's?
Yes,
We-
Buc-ee's.
Yeah, right.
You know? I mean,
Hey,
I don't understand.
All I know is if we're building
I
another
love
Taco Bell,
Buc-ee's.
if we're building another Taco Bell, you better give it Parks and Recs and make sure all the parks and bathrooms are open.
Can they even hire enough staff?
There's no Taco Bells, you're not gonna have time to get them all.
It was only the drive-through was open, they couldn't even staff.
See, I want to say, I respect that you want to
I don't
develop,
want no more dollars.
that you want to
Dollar
develop
Generals or Dollar Tree.
empty
yeah.
places,
Yeah.
okay? I respect that, okay, to turn wasteland into something. But strip malls aren't the answer,
No, they're not, I know that.
okay? But little tiny, shops,
Like what you have in
Is
Winter
not
Park,
the
village
answer.
markets. Those are nice.
the city manager's job is to garner economy. That's part of his job. That is the job of a city manager, to go to the meetings with the commissioners, to the Vegas shows, to those kinds of places where you can sit down with these people and you can say, look, we've got space and we have people that want you to come. I moved away from here to a small town in Tennessee. The size of Deltona, and they are building lots of big expensive homes now. They weren't. But now they have got economy coming in, they've got development, they've got manufacturing. They pumped the brakes on the houses because they realized the only way to get income was from property taxes and fines. They didn't have the commerce, they didn't have the industry, and that's what we're lacking. I am a widow with a $1,700 a month income. My house is paid for. My property taxes are almost $4,000 a month. I mean, a year, thank you, a year. Almost $4,000, almost $4,000 a year, okay? And I am getting all of the benefits that I can take advantage of, okay? That's still, for a single widow raising an Alzheimer's mother and paying that kind of property taxes is insane. If you want to help your people that are living here, give us a break and bring us economy and manufacturing.
I will make the statement, then I'll go to Mr. Lully, then I'll go to Commissioner Jody Lee, Commissioner Caldwell, and then Commissioner Burbank to finish up. But let me just say this comment, right? I think where our, and I'm gonna say our, right? Where our misunderstanding in the past as a commission has been, we need all this money to pay for all these things. And the fastest solution has been, let's build more houses. Why? Because the moment you put a foot in that house, that's instant property tax, that's instant revenue. With the exception of minus the homestead exemption, right? And then if you're like a firefighter, police officer, then you even get further exemptions on that.
Widow.
Okay, so that's why it's very important to have some type of commercial,
Yes.
right? As a matter of fact, when I ran, I talked to a couple of residents about not only manufacturing, but if there's a place in West Palm Beach specifically, it used to be called City Place, now it's called City Square. And the way they have it, there's certain sections of there where they have the first floor, second, third, it's all like lawyers, restaurants, small businesses, accountants, whatever. And then the fourth and fifth floor, there's like a mixture of luxury apartments or apartments. But what happens with them on those last two floors is they can't apply for a homestead exemption. They have to pay property tax. So, but they have an amazing tax benefit from all those homes, from all those businesses in the first place. So you have one solid building that goes from one corner to another, and a bunch of small businesses. There's a Cheesecake Factory there, there's a Macy's there, but it's a tax base. That's why residents in West Palm Beach they're probably, and I know because my dad lives there, and I looked at his property tax, it's not as expensive. So you're right, there's a lack of commercial. Now I will tell you, there's been this mentality of regionalism. That's one of the things that I've always had a big issue with. Regionalism. Well, we should not bring this business to Deltona because we need to provide the workers for Sanford, for Daytona Beach. And you know what? Good for Sanford, good for DeLand, good for Daytona Beach, because they've actually fought for the residents. I will say this, and then I'll go to Ms. Ulali. When I went to that round table where a lot of different counties came from Florida, came to this meeting in Orlando, they asked every single person, introduce yourself and say what your biggest accomplishment is. And when they got to me, I said, I'm the mayor of Deltona. There's a person that came before me, Ocean Ridge. It's a small city in West Palm Beach. It has less than 2,000 residents. I kid you not, the majority of the people knew where that place was. When I said I'm in Deltona, we have over 100,000 residents, everybody was like, where's that? I was flabbergasted. And they told me, so what is your main thing? I told them, to take the thunder away from every single one of your cities. I want to put our city to be #1. And I know DeLand's not here, and I know Daytona Beach is not here, but you know what? Good for them. Because everybody knows who Daytona Beach is. Granted, they have the world's famous beach. But everything goes to DeLand.
Everything goes to Volusia.
But to the point is, yeah, but nothing to Deltona. I think we have a commission, with no exception, right? I think we have a commission that is now, that is willing to make sure that we start making sure that we demand. We're the biggest city in this county. We shouldn't be bullied around, oh, we're gonna give this to DeLand or we're gonna give this to Daytona. No, we need something here. Stop the silliness. So, Mr. Lully, and then I'll go to Commissioner Jody Lee to finish off.
Yeah, so obviously it's no secret we've been working together on a few things, but since this is my district, I thought I'd sit out here in the audience tonight instead of being a pretty face.
Can you stand up and face
Yes, if you want me to. I don't want to be intimidated though. So Nick Lully. So I thought, I as a District 6 resident, I'd ask some questions tonight, and then you don't even know what I'm going to ask. So surprise. So I wanted to know, and I think it would be a benefit to the public. Can you tell us what your salary is as mayor?
It's public record, but it's just under $15,000.
How many hours? How many hours do you estimate you put in per week? Be honest, okay? I mean, this is more for you, at least at this point. It's more than full time.
It really depends on. There's some days that I do 12. Monday, for example, I did a solid 12 hours.
Okay.
So some days I do, but it's mainly meeting residents.
Sure.
That's basically all I really could do.
I mean, was it fair to say that our city charter is set up in a way where, and by the way, this applies to our other commissioners in the room as well. It's on paper, in a sense, it's considered part-time, so to speak.
It is a part-time job. It's supposed to be part-time.
But oftentimes it calls for full-time hours and very low pay, right? So my other question was, for the First Lady's initiative, Marina Elena, your wife, that was going around on Facebook, was there any city money that was going towards that initiative? Was Maria Elena getting paid any money? Is she a city employee?
Well, excuse me, but her page does state that she's a politician, number one, and you still haven't taken down your donation page. So when she's designated as a politician, that means she can take in money, and the big event is about resources. So it's, where's the money coming from and where is it going to? And I don't know, we don't have a first lady. There's no first lady.
So let me.
First lady a
all right, let's
governor,
be
and first
ma'am,
lady the
ma'am.
president.
We all were respectful when you spoke. Let me speak.
Yeah, well, he's doing this lead up thing. I mean, what was the point?
There's no lead up because I have not talked to him about that. Let me answer that because that's been a hot topic for some reason. So
For some reason, you're not the king, I'm sorry. And so that means that your wife
when
is
you're
not
finished,
the queen.
I will let you finish, get it all out, and then I will follow up with a response. So please finish.
Your wife is not the first lady.
Okay.
She's not the queen.
So
We're
do
not.
you want me to take out a dictionary and show you where the dictionary says the wife or the spouse of a city mayor, it's either called the first lady, the first spouse, or the mayoress. That is the term on a dictionary. Let me finish. The governor invited us to an inaugural ball. It said Mayor Avila and First Lady of Deltona. I mean, this is I think it's going, it's
It's a lot of air.
with everything,
Considering.
let me just say, with everything happening in our city, seriously, the purpose of us doing this, so when you go to Facebook, try to open a page, okay? There's only certain things it allows you to put, right? It really does. She's not an elected official, so she can't put elected official.
It says that she's a politician. on
That's the
page.
only
So
thing it would allow it to put, other than other. So I'm sure that regardless of what it says there, it's gonna offend someone, right? Here's the point, right? Here's the point. She's not getting paid for it, right? There's no money coming into this. Full disclosure and full facts. I was the one that started the Special Needs Resource Fair years ago. It's a historical fact. You can go look. I turned it over to the city because I wanted more people to show up to it because our residents need this, okay? The city stopped doing it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was due to COVID. They haven't started doing it again. I get that. They haven't done it again. So I was like, okay, let's start doing it again because it wasn't happening. The city is not paying for it. It's either going to be myself or a sponsor is going to go and pay for the center. That's it. There's no other money.
Sponsor. Okay, and what is your other real job?
I do marketing.
Yeah, like I think it's digital creator. Is that somebody that like makes up Facebook pages? That's what I've read. So.
I do different things for different businesses.
Okay.
I mean, I can't live off $14,000 a year.
Well, I mean, you go into a public office not expecting to live off a public office salary.
Of course.
Right.
So now you have an issue because I actually have to make a living doing.
I think we all do. Don't we all have to make a living?
Of course.
Okay, so would you volunteer or you set up to be elected? I don't know what this was all about that you want to pour. How much do you make
Look,
and how
man.
many hours?
I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? I'm going to help my residents whether
I've been watching the
let me
setup
finish,
and all the
please.
pages.
I'm going to help everyone whether they voted for me or not. Whenever anyone sends me a message, I don't ask them, excuse me, did you vote for me? Excuse me, are you a Democrat? Excuse me, are you a Republican?
Where's that coming from?
Because you're taking things out of context.
Can I make a point? Everybody here had the ability to speak, and he was very kind to give us all that ability to ask our questions and to speak. This man, who I've only met tonight, stood up and was asking his questions and has been rudely cut off. And I think he deserves the same right, the same respect that we were all given to ask his questions. And I would say, please, sir, continue respectfully to ask what you want to ask, because I'm concerned and I'm interested in what you have to say, because this is my first town hall meeting, and this is my first time meeting people that live in my district, and I'm very interested in knowing what you have to say. Thank you.
Mayor, I have two very brief questions, if I may. Thank you. My other question was, and again, because I was just confused because again, plead guilty. You and I worked together on a lot of things to push our city forward. So when I read some things, I was legitimately confused because it didn't really match up with what you and I had discussed. Has the city paid to rent any of your venues, including the Sons and Daughters of Italy Lodge last night? Okay, that came out of your pocket if there has been a cost.
The Sons and Daughters, yes.
Okay, thank you. My last question, and I share my friend here's concerns with our property taxes, which when I moved to Deltona, because the check just went out, I got the early discount, $4,700 was the amount. But without the discount, I think it was about $5,000. So I certainly share her concern with that. And if there's any opportunity for us to get relief on that ever in the future, I would welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jody Lee, and then I'll go to.
Burbank left.
Okay. You want to come up here?
Not really. I want to get this shit going. I'm not, sorry, excuse me. I'm not very politically correct. This is my first time elected. I'm not here to earn money. I'm not here to get the paycheck from the city, because if you think he makes a little bit, I make half of what he makes. So I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the people that live in this city. I'm tired of Deltona making this the most difficult city to do business in. That's why businesses don't come here also. It's hard to do business here. I own a sports bar down the street. Anybody doesn't know where Just One More is next to the Cocky Rooster? No, I'm leasing it. Big difference.
I'm misinformed,
Big
okay?
difference. No, a lot of people, that's the problem with Deltona. A lot of people are misinformed about stuff. I don't want no more housing in all these different spots. All our wildlife, you got bears coming through your yard, people are crying about coyotes going through your yard. You know, when you start to keep tearing down all the outside trees and everything, they gotta live somewhere. So if you say yes and you're all for a building development, and then you're gonna cry because you've got wild animals in your yard, guess what? You asked for it. The one thing we're not building anymore in this world is land. We need to use it the best we can while we got it before there's another big development. I'm not against development. I want smart development, just like the mayor said, responsible development. I like to have some businesses. I'm here to work with him. I'll work with everybody. If people don't want to work with me, so be it. I'm making decisions based on not just District 6, but the people in Deltona. Because if I make a vote that helps us in our area, I want to make sure it's not screwing District 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because what we vote on affects everybody in this whole city, not just our district. Now, I'm elected in our district. Like I said, if you want someone to fight for it, I'll do it. I'm not a very politically correct. You might not like how I say it, but I'll get results. We just need to work together. The residents need to know we have to work together. We can't tell people what to do. We can't tell a city manager what to do. We can at a consensus at the meeting, but I can't go to the city manager. I see him daily. I'm at City Hall all the time. I see the mayor there all the time, putting in his time. I go there probably every day. I can't go and talk to the city manager and tell him to do something. That's not how it works. I can get in trouble, get yelled at and spanked and everything else. But I can't go to him and say, hey, I want you to do this. We can talk a little bit on certain subjects that we're not going to vote. I can get his feel what he wants to do. Unfortunately, unless he passes a gavel at a meeting, people don't notice either, he can't even make a motion. He's our mayor. He can't make a motion to get something done. So that's where us commissioners and the mayor have to work together. If I know he has a plan to do something, I can make a motion for something he wants. And then we vote on it. So, I mean, I want to work together. I'm only here for the people. I'm not here for the paycheck. I'm not here for the brownie points. I ain't here for the benefits. Actually, this is killing a lot of vacations I can be going on right now. And my wife hates politics. But I'm tired of how we've been getting treated all these years. That City Hall is there for us. We are not here for City Hall. And that's my point, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing this. Because I'm tired of them making my life in this city difficult.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. So in ending with this town hall, right? Wow, we went over. Thank you, every single one of you, for coming out, right? I know sometimes it can get a little frustrating with whoever. I really want our city to move forward.
Thank you.
And I stress that out a lot because I'm in the same boat that you guys are in. I don't want the ship to sink. I want to be able to look at my little girl when she gets older and say, Daddy did this to help make your future better. Okay? I don't want to have to not be able to look at my daughter in her eyes and say, well, I made things worse, or I was a corrupt politician. I don't want none of that. So let's move forward. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Kumbaya, right? But we need to stop this divisiveness. Let's start working together. There's things that we can kind of agree on. You know, we might not agree on everything, and that's fine. That's what makes America such an amazing place. But there's things that we can come together on. Let's focus on those things, and the things that we can't come together on, let's find consensus. Let's find a way where we can do a little give and take, okay? So thank you all for coming to this town hall. Have a good night, and if I don't see it, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you guys.
You too.